All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at a world that feels like it's holding its breath. You can almost feel the tension, right? From every corner of the globe, it's like a pressure cooker with the heat cranked all the way up. So the big question is, which part is going to blow first? I mean, look around. The signs are literally everywhere. We're talking the Middle East, the seas around Asia, even the Caribbean. It's like all these separate crises are simmering, and any one of them could just boil over. So let's connect the dots here and see what's really going on. So where do we start? Well, let's go to one of the most dangerous flashpoints on the map right now, the standoff between the US and Iran. Things there are, well, they're heating up fast. So, what's this all about? It really boils down to two completely different stories. On one hand, you have the US saying, hey, Iran is building missiles that can reach us, and they're firing up their weapons program again. But then Iran fires back, saying, whoa, hold on. Our missiles, they're just for defense. It's something we absolutely have to have, and we are not trying to build a nuke. And look, the stakes here are just massive. If Iran does get a working long-range missile, it completely changes the game in the Middle East. And Iran isn't being quiet about it either. They're pushing back, and they're pushing back hard. Their foreign ministry spokesman basically called the U.S. claims, get this, big lies and a disinformation campaign. I mean, that's not exactly diplomatic language, right? That's the language you use when things are getting serious. But, for all this tough talk from those sides, actually pulling the trigger on military action, the consequences are, well, they're terrifying. This wouldn't be some neat surgical strike. We're talking about the potential for a catastrophic, uncontrollable mess. A brutal, bloody war that could drag on, destabilize the entire region, and maybe even leave behind an Iran that's even angrier and more dangerous than before. There are just no good options on the table. It's so easy to get lost in all the high-level politics, the chess moves between countries. But we have to remember the real cost of all this, the human fallout. That's what often gets completely lost in the headlines. Just look at this number for a second. Over 1,400. That's how many African nationals have been found fighting for Russia and Ukraine. They're being recruited from all over the continent, often tricked with promises of big money or a Russian passport that never materializes. And what happens to them when they get to the front? Well, the recruits who've made it back tell horrific stories. They say they're treated as cannon fodder, disposable soldiers, just thrown into the fight, sometimes with barely any training at all. It's just a brutal, horrifying exploitation. And this kind of horror, it's not just happening in Ukraine. If you look thousands of miles away in Sudan, we're finally seeing some accountability. Commanders there are now facing justice for some truly unspeakable atrocities. And these aren't just vague accusations. The UN Security Council is calling them out by name. We're talking about specific commanders in Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. From the very top, the deputy leader, all the way down to a field commander nicknamed the Butcher of El Fasher. The charges? Genocide, ethnic killings, using sexual violence and starvation as weapons of war. It's just staggering. Okay, so we have these huge, grinding conflicts. But sometimes the biggest danger isn't the forest fire, but the tiny spark that starts it. We're seeing these little flashpoints pop up all over the place, and our world is basically a global tinderbox just waiting for a match. Let's zoom in on our first flashpoint. See this little spot on the map? It's called Yonaguni Island. It's the most western part of Japan. It might not look like much, but its location makes it one of the most critical pieces of real estate in the entire Indo-Pacific. Why? Because it is just 110 kilometers away from Taiwan. That's nothing. And now Japan is getting ready to put medium-range surface-to-air missile units right there. Think about that. That is a massive military upgrade, putting some serious hardware right in the middle of one of the most tense areas on the planet. And Japan isn't messing around. They have a clear 3-step plan. Step 1. Get those advanced Type 03 missiles in place to take out enemy aircraft. Step 2. Beef up the air defense for the whole area. And Step 3. Add electronic warfare gear to jam enemy systems. It's a very clear message. Don't mess with this area. So while the big powers are making moves in Asia, these flashpoints can explode literally anywhere and fast. Let's pivot to the Caribbean, where a violent clash at sea shows you just how quickly things can go from tense to deadly. The result? 4 people dead. Shot and killed by the Cuban coastguard during a firefight with a speedboat registry in the US. It's just a brutal reminder that in the world we're living in today, these deadly clashes can happen anywhere, anytime, with no warning. So, with all this pressure building, what are countries actually doing about it? Well, they're not just sitting back and watching. They're actively picking sides, forging new partnerships, and drawing lines in the sand. And a perfect example of this is what's happening between India and Israel. They've boosted their relationship to what they're calling a special strategic partnership. And trust me, this isn't just a fancy title. They're working together on some seriously advanced stuff. Defense tech like AI and laser systems, next-gen innovations like quantum computing, and of course, stronger economic ties. But for India, this is a really tricky balancing act. It's like walking a diplomatic tightrope. On one side, you have the prime minister fully supporting Israel's security, calling the October 7th Hamas attack a barbaric act. But at the same time, his government officially condemns Israeli settlements in the West Bank and still backs a two-state solution. It's a really complex dance to do in such a polarized world. And that brings us right back to where we started. You've got these wars of words, the awful human cost, these dangerous little flashpoints, new alliances locking into place. All of it is just cranking up the heat inside that global pressure cooker. So the real question isn't if something is going to give way, it's what and when. As all these global fault lines get deeper and deeper, which one do you think will be the first to break?